The Galaxy S24 lineup has been praised by the tech YouTube community, but disparity in chipset performance, random heating issues with the Exynos variant, freezing under 5G connections, differences in photo quality between the S24 Global and US versions, and various software bugs such as screen vividness, along with hardware issues like a grainier screen on the S24 Ultra variant, have left a rather bitter taste in my mouth. Despite these issues, S24 broke all the sales record that was done previously by Samsung. So what is it? Is S24 a revolutionary device? Or people like me just like to complain? Samsung released the Galaxy S24 lineup at a fancy event, followed by a great marketing campaign focused on the newest slogan, AI. YouTube was quick to praise the S24 lineup despite controversies such as using Exynos chipsets for the global variant of the S24 and S24 Plus instead of a Snapdragon. Samsung also gave phones to reviewers before opening them to public to create hype for pre-orders. To be fair, it is a common practice, but soon after the phone was publicly released, people started to notice the issues. It started with the screen vividness. Samsung UK confirmed it is a software issue and it will be solved with a firmware update. Even though the update in fact fixed the issue a month later, it raised a lot of questions regarding Samsung's quality assurance process. People started to question how such an obvious problem passed production. Soon after, people started to notice issues with the Exynos chipset. At first, there was a strong denial that the Exynos variant is inferior, and claims were made that it is as good as a Snapdragon. I felt like people were reading from the same script, even though during the initial campaign it was stated that the chipset doesn't have any issues. Based on my through test, I realized the Exynos variant is draining more battery and hangs and freezes during video calls, 4K video recording. The signals are also not as good as the SD variant, which means the modem is behind the Qualcomm version of the phone. On top of that, I realized the phone does not support Wi-Fi 7. To add to that, Samsung kneecapped the Snapdragon variant 2 to not support Wi-Fi 7 either, to not have feature disparity. You may say, but Mo, Wi-Fi 7 is rather new, and my answer is that so is S24. You know, for my work I need that extra speed that Wi-Fi 7 is giving to us. If we advertise a phone as a tool that we are gonna support for 7 years, it should also be future-proof. Otherwise, we can always buy S23 or S22. The problem with chipset disparity do not stop there. The camera white balance is off, even after the firmware update on the Exynos variant. When taking videos at night, the Galaxy S24 Exynos removes details and colors supposedly by AI and HDR capabilities. And if there is any yellow lights, the whole scene turns yellow. The camera and QA issues don't stop there. Even though the Exynos variant takes better portrait photos, it sometimes adds unnatural artifacts to the scene. I suspect it is hard for the dev team to optimize the algorithm for two chipsets, Exynos and a Snapdragon. So in a way, the problem is not Exynos. It is using two different chipsets in the same phone. The image quality issues are not only for the S24 and S24 Plus. At least during launch, the S24 Ultra also had severe issues that somehow passed the QA when zooming into pictures. Famously, the digital crop of anything more than 5x zoom was simply not working, and the camera, instead of using a 5x telephoto lens, would use a normal lens and crop the pictures digitally. A YouTuber explained this issue the best, and I will put the link in the description down below. I tested the same scenario after updates, and it looks like the problem is solved. It's funny that no one on YouTube complained about this zooming problem. Whenever Germans are happy about the quality of a product, they say there is nothing to complain about. And Americans translate it to, this is the best phone that I ever used. I don't believe that YouTubers are malicious and they're trying on purpose to give you wrong information. At the same time, I think we are not putting enough time and efforts into testing a new system. But I kind of understand that. So for YouTube to work, you want to be the first person that review a phone when it comes out. For that, you have to have the phone before it is released. And for that to happen, you should have a good relationship with the brand. So when you get a review unit, you probably don't want to over criticize it. Especially if you have a bigger platform, This over-criticizing can severely impact the sales of a specific phone, and it can kind of destroy your relationship with that brand. The funny thing is that this practice is kind of illegal in Austria. So in Austria, if you get a phone for review, this is considered a promotion, because a company basically giving you a product for free and you're getting paid to do an advertisement. But this rule basically doesn't apply to any other country that I know of. Let me know down in the comment section if in your country there is also some regulations for influencers and products that they get for free. Also, I feel the new AI capabilities on the camera are making the pictures even more fake and less to be desired. For example, take a look at these camera pictures from the S24 Ultra and S24 Snapdragon and Exynos. The S24 Ultra is simply ruining the scene by over-processing it. To be fair to Samsung, the S24 and S24 Plus, even on the global version, did a lot of impressive moves. The screen does look almost bezel-less. It is taller and larger and simply better. The peak brightness is increased, they added LTPO screens to preserve battery even more, and I personally like the design of the phone much better than the S23. It looks more modern. I also love the fact that the Galaxy S24 Ultra is finally back to flat screens. Is Samsung the first company to launch a phone with issues? Surely not. Famously, Apple recently had battery issues with the iPhone 15 lineup. Such things happen all the time, but I want to give you a different perspective. I'm just speculating here, but I think the development team was forced to focus and deliver on AI features, and it diverted their attention from what makes a phone reliable. Most of those AI features are buggy and not ready for deployment. For example, the live translation feature is very inaccurate and almost unusable for most use cases based on my tests on several languages. Or there is this new handwriting to text feature, but you have to manually select every 2 pages, and if you write a longer text, it doesn't simply select it all and make it into one single paragraph. I personally like the new slow motion feature a lot. I use it all the time to see details in my videos, but that's almost the only AI feature that is useful to me. On top of that, Samsung was too quick to jump into the new type of anti-reflective display, whereas in my opinion, it could have stayed longer in R&D. The first night I went to bed, I noticed the phone screen looked too grainy, and that took me off guard. I often play chess on my phone before I go to sleep, and I realized the quality of the screen is visibly worse than it should be. This is something that bothered me a lot, and I feel even on a normal light setting, the screen is grainy and not as smooth as it should be. Here if you zoom in, you can visibly see how bad and grainy the screen is in low brightness. These pictures are not exaggerating the problem. I took them with 200 ISO and a long shutter speed, and this is exactly how my naked eyes see the screen at night. Since you know I'm kind of a scientist myself, I researched a bit into it, and another scientist took some pictures of the phone under a microscope. You can see that there is a disparity between the colors. This effect is called Mura. I am not the only one with this problem. Hundreds of people posted the same issue on Reddit. I feel like Samsung executives were under a lot of pressure, especially after Apple was gaining more market share in US and other countries, even in Korea. And their big promise was basically the AI hype. And it worked. They broke all the sales records. But at the same time, I feel like this is not really a long-term solution. Samsung felt that they need to disrupt the market, and they did so. They made some bold moves, but I feel like even though it paid off temporarily, the bitter taste it left in some early adopters is going to bite them soon. You know, trust is a funny thing. During my PhD, I was working on a paper for trust in the smart homes. The short way to describe it is that you can quantify trust with a number, but the moment you break it, you can't increase the trust again. It is merely broken and the user does not come back. So I know that I painted a very grim picture of S24 lineup. But at the same time, I actually am using myself S24 Ultra and I plan to keep it, despite all the problems. But the thing is, if you are paying 1,300 euros for a phone, it should be perfect. Or as Germans say, there should be nothing to complain about. This amount of money equates to almost a year of work in a developing country, And even in Austria, you can buy a second-hand Peugeot with that amount of money. Let me know down in the comment section what is your experience with the S24 lineup, and am I just spending too much time in Vienna and I start to be a bit grumpy and complainy? Thanks for tuning into TechMo, and until the next one, bye!